My name is Erica and I am an art therapy intern at Pathways, and I'm going to be showing 2 different art activities that you can do from home and that use everyday materials that you might not think about using to make some art. So the first thing I'm going to show you is some magazine rolled up paper beads, and the second thing I'm going to be showing you are some toilet paper roll face sculptures. So we're going to be going over those today. For materials for this project, you're going to need some magazines. So something, you could even use something like a newspaper or just regular paper that you have, but magazines tend to be colorful and give a little bit excitement to the paper beads. Some scissors to cut that up. Some sort of paintbrush or way to apply. You could even use your fingers if you would like to apply the glue, and then something to roll the paper beads on. So these are kind of like lollipop sticks. You could use a toothpick, you could use a skewer. If you don't have any of those things, you could always even use your paintbrush. You're just looking for something kind of small and round to roll the paper onto. And then of course some glue. So you could use really any type of glue. I'm probably going to be showing the example with Mod Podge because I think it's the easiest one to use, but you're welcome to use other types of glue as well for this. And now we'll get started. So when looking through your magazine, you're going to want to be focusing on different colors that you want to show, less so much the words, because the words are going to be rolled up and kind of unable to read unless you find something that's maybe a single letter that you can roll and put on the outside. But I would recommend kind of focusing on the colors that you want to show. There are also quite a few different ways you can cut the paper, and that's going to affect how your bead rolls up. So you can see this one that has a straight edge and then a longer edge. This one's just kind of a triangle, just a square, just a regular flat rectangle, and then kind of adding a wider tip on the top. And there are a lot of different ways you can cut paper, so really just experiment with the size that you're looking for, what you want the bead to look like when you do roll it up. And you know, if you would like everything to be uniform, you're welcome to use a ruler. I tend not to use a ruler just because I think it's kind of a fun organic process to kind of see how all the beads come out as little snowflakes, and you don't know, they're all different. So I want this pretty blue-gray color to be on the outside of my bead, to be what shows. So when I'm rolling it up, I'm going to put that on the outside. So on the inside I have these words, and I'm going to place my dowel towards the front, because with this bead it's going to kind of, you could do it both ways, either this way going in or that way going out, but we're going to start this way. So now that I have my paper set up, I'm going to apply the glue. I'm going to be using paintbrush with Mod Podge, but you're also welcome again to use your fingers, and if you have some Elmer's glue, if you want to mix a little bit of water with that and kind of make a paste to paint on as well, you're welcome to do that, or a glue stick. Lots of different ways. What's important with this is that we don't want any of the glued area to actually hit the dowel or the skewer or whatever we're using to roll our bead, because that way we won't be able to get the bead off. So we're going to kind of just start by pushing this piece up and around the dowel, kind of knowing where to start the glue once it's over the dowel, and then getting the glue and kind of putting that on all the rest of the piece. So I'm kind of doing this one-handed. So adding the glue onto this piece all the way to the tip of it, making sure not to get too close to that skewer or dowels, that way we're able to get it off. And then we're going to start to roll it. Just kind of carefully. Again, I kind of like these to be a little bit organic with themselves, so however it kind of rolls can happen. And then a little bit of glue also works to help kind of keep it secure at the tip. So if your end's kind of popping up, to kind of put some glue on top as well. I've also seen nail polish be used to give it a glossier finish as well. Kind of just getting that glue, making sure all the pieces of it are down and secure. And then we can pop our bead. It should come straight off of here. And then we have a first paper bead. This one's pretty long. Something that if you do kind of cut it and you want it to be shorter and not something kind of a longer bead, you're always welcome to snip it, make it kind of shorter, or cut smaller pieces of paper that are more narrow to make a narrower bead. The bead's going to be as wide as the widest point of your paper. So if you have a paper this wide, the bead's going to be this wide. So cutting it smaller if you'd like it smaller, if you want some big beads. That is. Okay, so here are my beads. This was the rectangle cut piece of paper. This was the piece of paper that was wider on the top. As you can see, it kind of has a bit of a thicker middle and thinner on the sides. This piece of paper was the regular triangle, and then this is the straight edge triangle. So there are many different ways you can make a variety of different beads just by the way you cut the paper. You can make them different sizes and look into different colors. And when you're finished with your beads, however many you can make a really long necklace, a set of necklaces. You can make a bracelet. You could use them for a keychain or some sort of charm, or maybe one of those things that hang from the mirror of your car. You can make them for your friends that everybody's missing right now to kind of give away, or Mother's Day, or whatever feels good for you. You can make them for yourself to have a whole bands up your arm. Maybe thinking about if you do want to pick out words from the magazines that mean something to you, that you'll know that they're in your beads, but other people won't be able to read them. But if you want to pick out things that mean something to you, you could really set an intention with creating these beads for yourself or for somebody else, and kind of knowing the reason why you chose certain pieces of paper to put in them. And yeah, it can be fun to sit and create and take a moment to really focus on creating something rolled up and small or something bigger and putting all these pieces together. So the next project I have is something a little bit more funky, but us being in a pandemic, one of the first things that went away was toilet paper, and figuring out a different way to kind of reclaim this whole fiasco about toilet paper, and it's something that we probably all have, is toilet paper rolls. So I was thinking that we could create some, however well it translates on camera, but some toilet paper roll face sculptures. So these are really kind of funky and cool and can be whatever you imagine them to be. Really just working with this kind of new material in a different way and seeing what you're able to create and being able to decorate it with whatever materials you have, from crayons to markers to anything really. It kind of reminds me almost of, this one at least does, like that hat from Harry Potter that talks, and the sorting hat, yeah, kind of like a funky squished face. So using your imagination and really focusing on what do our faces convey and what are our emotions that are going on inside of us right now. Okay, so getting started with this is a toilet paper roll. If you can have more than one, that's great, because I know when I first did this, there were a few that I had that fell apart. So kind of being, if you have a little bit of a stockpile, you could even have paper towel rolls that you could cut up to have a few. And the first thing that we're going to do is run this underwater for just a second. It absorbs that water super quick. So just 1 second each side, sticking under the water to get it a little bit wet. Okay, so now we have this wet, so it'll be easier for us to work with, but also being careful that we don't want to pull apart the seams of the toilet paper roll. So the first thing that I found to be helpful, and there isn't a right or a wrong way to do this at all, you could do however it feels right for you, or kind of getting a feel for what this material in this new way really can do for you and what it feels like. So first putting it in half, giving it some folds to be able to kind of be easier to play with, a little bit more malleable. And then I think what I found most helpful is starting with that kind of crease on the top. So kind of just folding it over on the top like this, and then folding it the opposite way on the bottom to kind of almost have it like a 3-fold piece of toilet paper roll. And then just thinking about what are the features of a face, what's going to convey a face. And for me, I think noses and eyes are kind of our big features. And so kind of pushing out the center to kind of start to create that nose shape. So you can stick your finger inside and then push it out and just kind of squeeze it, pinch it to make a nose. And you can almost start to see that, having some features now. So then we have that top that we did on the fold, so kind of still holding on and pinching that nose. We're gonna bring that fold forward to create kind of more of like a forehead. Again, you know, there isn't a right or wrong way to do that, and none of these are gonna look the same. They're gonna look different every time because they're a very organic material and a very organic subject matter. You know, our faces, they're all different and they all are kind of creative and expressionistic in different ways. So you can make it scrunchy if you want, you can make it not scrunchy, kind of playing around with what can come out of this. Maybe it's not a face, maybe it's something else, maybe you just want to play around with some toilet paper rolls. It can really be whatever you would like. Okay, so now we have our kind of forehead here in a nose shape. So kind of thinking about a mouth. So we have that fold on the bottom. So kind of, we have our nose. So again, holding on to this nose shape, kind of pushing it up a little bit, and then making a fold into the bottom. So kind of, however you're starting to see a mouth kind of come together, and whatever mouth you want it to be, maybe you could put, kind of play with it to make it not maybe like a different expression than a big frown, and squishing it if you want lips, or maybe you don't want lips, and just really kind of exploring what you can do with this cardboard. And right, kind of going back and squeezing more in different ways. This guy kind of looks a little angry, huh? So yeah, you could spend a lot of time really just maneuvering it and trying to get in places. You know, if you want to get different clips to maybe clip places together, that you want to make sure they stay together in a certain way so that when it dries all the way, it'll hold its shape a little bit better. And then really that's all you need. You just need a paper towel roll and some water. And you're welcome to paint these. I thought it was kind of brought expressions to life and helped bring out some of the details to paint them, and they're kind of abstract and they're kind of fun. And yeah, I hope you enjoy these projects, and hopefully there's something that feels accessible to you at home and something that you have the materials for that you didn't know. And during this time, it's important, if you are called to making something and creating, to know that that's still an option for you, and it can be therapeutic. So thank you so much.